If we've been your job search besties and helped you in some way, there's a cool way you can support the show. Shout us a virtual coffee.
As an independent podcast, we couldn't do what we do without your support. Head to buymeacoffee.com/interviewboss.
If you keep us caffeinated, we'll keep the content coming.
Because I just overheard her say that she doesn't really like this job and doesn't want to work here. Like, it's gossip. People love gossip. They're going to absolutely share that if they overhear something.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Interview Boss. My name is Emma. I'm a radio journalist who's teamed up with my sister to give you advice, inspiration and support when you're looking for a new job. Sarah is a HR and recruitment professional, and together we're excited to give you all the tips, tricks and behind the scenes knowledge to help you in your career.
Hey Em, welcome back everyone. We are always telling you guys to shoot your shot. So at the beginning of every episode, we tell you about a listener who's done exactly that. This ep, we're shouting out Elen, who bought us a coffee. She's helping us continue to make this show. Thank you, Elen. We so appreciate it.
She said, "Hi, Emma and Sarah. Thank you for creating the Interview Boss podcast and helping all of us reach our job goals. And a shout out to my sister Freya too for putting me on to you guys. I'm a medical doctor in the UK. You rightly acknowledge that things are a little different interview-wise for this kind of job compared to other fields, but I want you to know that I found the Interview Boss podcast so helpful in the run-up to an important interview I had. In particular, the episodes on best bits, on thinking really deeply about the scenarios you choose to prepare as answers, and the episode for immediately post-interview. I got written feedback on my interview and I made sure I got in my best bits. They landed with the interviewers and made the impression I was hoping they would because they reflected my best bits back to me in my amazing feedback. Reading the feedback makes me feel so proud, and what's more, I got offered the job, a training post as an anesthetist. Thank you very much for your insight and guidance. It's empowering and it works. I will be coming back to Interview Boss again and recommending it to people in my life. Love from the UK, Elen."
Oh,
We have one of the smartest people in the world listening to our podcast. Elen is responsible for putting people to sleep and making sure they wake up again. Is that not the biggest responsibility in the world? She has human lives in her little mitts every single day.
I do wonder how people in healthcare don't take every little thing so seriously, because half of what gets me through stuff is being like, we're not saving lives here. And like, I don't know what I would tell myself if we really were. I don't know how I would ever stop doing the next thing, because I'd be like, I am saving lives and it's really important. I guess, there's got to be some other thing that comes into it.
Awesome to hear from someone in the medical field, and how great that they relayed your best bits back to you. That means it really stuck and they landed.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Remember, the goal of our interview is for them to understand. And if they understand it, they can tell their colleague who's like, "Oh, how did the interview go? Why did you end up hiring that person?" They'll be like, "Yeah, she's done some really cool stuff. She told us about this project she's worked on, blah, blah, blah." They have to understand it well enough that they could tell it back to someone else. If they don't understand it because you've used buzzwords or you've used a really lame example, it's not going to land. So you absolutely nailed it. Congratulations, Elen. I know that those kind of medical processes can be really, really tough. I've worked with some people in coaching sessions for a variety of different types of fields like that. Often it's the kind of thing, where there's only this many positions in this whole country and everyone applies at the same time. It's once a year. Like, they can be really crazy. So that is a huge achievement.
All the more impressive. Now, before we get into this episode, if you need more help than we can fit in a podcast, go check out our website for free templates, coaching services, as Sarah just mentioned, and our interview academy. This week, we are talking about the importance of remembering that your interview starts immediately, not when you get the first question.
Yes. Don't make the mistake of thinking that the interview starts when you've sat down and after you've got your glass of water, and then as soon as you stand up, that then you're off the hook. I like to think that our wonderful listeners would never do any of these things. But it's good to remember, it's good to talk about. I was talking to some of my colleagues and they were saying how they see this more often than they expected. And it comes up a bit from, really junior people at the beginning of their career to really senior people who maybe just don't really understand the whole process. So I thought that's what we should talk about.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about some moments that matter that you might not have considered. But important disclaimer, these aren't traps or more things that require you to perform. The interviewers and the company, they're just trying to get to know you. And these little moments can help paint an overall picture of who you are. So it's important to have that awareness.
Yeah, it's not just the interview itself where they're assessing you or trying to get to know you. They're trying to just get to know you as a whole, as a person. And so all of the things in the whole process all add up to an overall impression and an overall decision that those people are going to make. So even if you're in the kind of place where there's really set criteria, the way that humans make decisions can never really be kind of black and white, particularly when it comes to assessing another person. You can have all the criteria in the world, but if you've got a certain impression that someone has made on you from behaviors that you've seen, and then they are answering a question in front of you, you might receive their answer a little bit differently because of what you already know going in. So it's not about like that these are absolute red flags or deal breaker moments or whatever. It's just that these also form part of your impression.
Yeah. So let's talk about the switch up that someone might do if they work out that the person who checked them in or held the door open in the elevator or that you bumped into was the interviewer. So if you're on autopilot, you're kind of stressed and maybe someone opens the door and you don't say thank you, you've got your head down and then you walk up to the front counter and you're like, hi, yep, I'm here for my interview, and you sound quite stern, not super friendly. And then one of those people ends up being the person on the other side. And then you go into your ultra performing best self. Oh, hello. It's so lovely to meet you. Oh, thanks for having me. It can feel really ingenuine.
Yes, it can. And I was looking for some examples of this where people talked about having seen this before or experienced it. And I want to clarify for anyone who's listening to this and feeling like, well, sometimes I've just got a lot on my mind and then, the interviewer comes over and I want to be friendly to them and like maybe I'll come off the wrong way. We're not talking about that though. This isn't just like you're sitting there with a blank face and then you get up and say, oh, hi. That's not what we're talking about. It's like a before and after kind of moment. Like you were specifically changed only because of who the interviewer is, not because of you've arrived already. Like you may have even interacted with someone else beforehand and you didn't bring that energy then. Like we're not talking like you walked past them on the street and you had, your resting bitch face on. I don't think that's having this impact. We're talking like you're sitting there slouched, like sighing, like or even the interviewer walks over. I can imagine this in my mind, and this is one of the examples one of my colleagues gave. I can imagine in my mind the interviewer walks over and they get like, side eye from the candidate. Oh, who's this person coming over? I hope they don't try and make small talk. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. It's my interviewer.
Yeah. I have made note before in an interview when sitting in the waiting room, I put my phone away straight away, even though there could have been stuff I was looking at in preparation. I just had my notebook and I just was reading through it. And I feel like that was a good image if anyone came over. And yeah, it's not a problem if you're looking in concentration, reading your notebook and not smiling at anyone that comes past. But when anyone walked toward me, it was smile, say hello, and then got carried away for the interview.
I think with a lot of these things that we're about to go through, I don't want anyone to like panic and overthink all of this. It's just who you genuinely are. Like if you're completely putting it on and you normally wouldn't be that friendly to someone, then this is going to show that a little bit. If you just don't glare at people and you just don't seem bothered by talking to people and you don't have the down version, you might be just neutral and then positive. then you don't have to worry about this stuff. It's the active opposite that you see. It's like when you see a video or something of a celebrity, like when they don't think anyone else is watching. And it's not just that they're not performing anymore, because you would expect that, right? Like you would expect that when someone's not on stage, they're just like a more dialed down version of themselves. But when people get really concerned is when you see it and it's like actively the opposite of who they pretend to be. That's what we're talking about.
It's also important how you treat other people.
Yeah, who might not be a direct part of the interview process, but you might be interacting with. Maybe the building that you're working in has like a downstairs security that aren't even part of the company that you work for. They're just the security team that are employed by the overall building. Maybe you were really short and rude to them or expected to be let through or treated them like an absolute inconvenience to have to follow the security protocol or something like that. Maybe it is reception. That is the absolute classic. I think this happens more than people realize. I have always gotten reception team members or, front office people to weigh in on what they think on candidates, if there's any red flags, if they notice stuff. Even when there's group interviews, we would send the receptionist and someone else down to greet everyone and like help them find their way up the lift when there was like lots of people coming in. And we would say to them, if you notice anything, even how they're interacting with other people, are they being friendly to the other people that are turning up? Like, report back, tell us if there's anything in particular that stood out, positive or negative. And you always hear bits and pieces back. And it absolutely is something that you note down and you factor in.
I have actually given feedback on interview candidates before as a receptionist. I was junior at the time, but when the bosses were trying to make a decision, they just said in passing, like, oh, what did you think? And I actually chose one lady. I was like, oh, she just had good energy. She was just friendly, just radiating good vibes. And I didn't get the greatest vibe from the other person, the other lady. They actually ended up going with her, and inevitably it didn't work out, and they went with backup candidate, first lady who I said I liked. And then I got to say, see, I picked that from the start. Receptionists pick up on more than you will ever understand.
And they know the business. They see how everyone else comes through and they can correlate how other people come through versus what they're actually like. And yeah, it's all pattern matching. I've even seen an article where they gave an example of a CFO who didn't get the job because they had sent a driver to pick them up from the airport. Like they must have like flown them in for the interview or something like that. And they were rude to the driver and they must have received feedback about that. And that was the deal breaker. Like I bet that person did not think that that was part of the interview, and how they were treating the driver, they probably thought had nothing to do with how they would go at their job. And they probably thought, well, I was really lovely to all the people at the company. Maybe this person even knew the receptionist part already, like as soon as they arrived and got out of that car, they had their shiny personality on, but they let their guard slip in front of the driver. This is what I mean when I say, if you're not the kind of person who's likely to be rude to a random member of the public anyway, I don't think you need to be worried here. It's not that you need to be overly lovely and nice to everyone. It's just like we're talking about you've been outright rude and then flipped your personality.
What do we need to be mindful of when answering the phone?
Oh, I think this is something that is one of those fun little moments that you can use as a recruiter. And it doesn't always correlate, right? It doesn't always. Sometimes you catch people off guard and they answer the phone and then you get a completely different impression of them by the end of the phone call, right? So first impressions aren't always correct. And sometimes you might call them up for a pre-prepared phone call, right? So this is booked in. Like they should be expecting you to call at the time that you said you were going to call. And they answer the phone, hello? And you're like, oh, hi, it's so-and-so calling from whatever. Like, do you hear the vibe that I got from that hello? And you're like, oh, I don't think this is going to go very well. This doesn't sound good. And then maybe they were just like, oh, shit, I thought, that they were, you can tell that they were like, oh, I was expecting someone else and I've gotten mixed up and it's just a little awkward moment. And they were fine the rest of the time. Other times it can be indicative of something that you pick up other little notes of elsewhere in the call. Like, hello. And you're like, oh, hi, it's so-and-so calling, is now still a good time? Oh, yeah, I guess so. Again, knowing that they've booked it in, right? The context is always that they've booked it in. You're like, oh, okay. And then there's other bits in the rest of that conversation where you're like, I'm not getting any care factor whatsoever. And that just forms an overall impression. And you're like, I could tell in the first 15 seconds of you picking up the phone, like that was absolutely indicative of how the rest of the call was going to go. So I think it's hard when you're applying for things and you get caught off guard. Again, I don't think that's the thing that's going to rule you out, but I did see a story that someone told of that they were getting lots of scam calls. And so they would answer the phone like and not say anything. You know how you wait for the silence and you hear that click where like, you know, the call center, the automated dialer has clicked you over into the call center or whatever. And then they waited and waited and waited. And then they said, well, what do you want? Are you going to say something?
Oh, no.
Someone calling them for an interview. It's just not great. You're really kind of spiraling to catch up from that. I mean, you could make it a fun moment of being like, oh my God, I'm mortified. I've been getting so many scam calls. I'm so sorry. I'm just sick of them. And I think you could recover from that.
Totally. I think there's something to be said for knowing the season that you're in, and if you're applying for jobs, just protectively answer every phone call chirpy and say, hello, Emma speaking.
Yeah, totally. Or like, you know, maybe you don't want to give your name out on a call when it's like a number that you don't recognize or something. Like just answer positively, hello, you know, I think that would be fine.
Leveling up your job interview skills is the kind of thing that will pay off for the rest of your career. When you prep properly, it's something you can use over and over and over again. Think promotions, unexpected layoffs, and when you're ready for your next move in a few years.
Enter our course, Interview Academy. It's a clear, easy to follow interview prep structure. Everyone loves the cheat sheet. Filling in each box is super satisfying and helps you focus on the important thinking, not the process. Find out whether it's right for you, interviewboss.com.au/interview-academy. The link will be below.
I think some of these moments can happen of kind of slipping up, if you will, when you don't know who you're there to meet or the details of the job. So a good way to counter that is by knowing who's going to be on the panel or interviewing you, searching them up beforehand so you've memorized their faces, keeping a record of what jobs you've applied for so that when they call you and name the company, your memory's jogged. But again, if you're the kind of person that's lovely to everyone regardless, this doesn't carry as much weight.
Yeah, but I know the feeling of, like, I'm not the kind of person who would like close the elevator door on someone or something like that, you know, and it was actually my interviewer or whatever. So it's like, it's not that you really have that to worry about, but I certainly would feel a little bit odd if like someone was in the lift and I didn't know that that was the person I was interviewing with. And I was friendly to them in a way that I wouldn't normally be with someone else. Like it would just make me like have a weird realization of like, oh my God, like rethinking, what did I say? What did I smile? Did I smile too much? Like just that lack of perception would make me scramble a little bit. And then that could kind of throw me off for the rest of the interview, I think. So definitely looking up what your interviewers look like can be really helpful. But I also want to say that I don't think that should be the thing that means that you don't glare at someone incorrectly. Do you know what I mean? Like just because you know that that's them crossing the office to you now, that won't completely solve the problem if you still look down on everyone else that's not the interviewer, because you might get caught out in one of those other moments.
Just smile at everyone. Just be a ray of light.
Yeah. I think on this note of, you know, not knowing who you're there to meet, I've had circumstances where someone's turned up to an interview and they haven't known who they were meant to meet and they didn't know the exact job title of the job. Like they were just a little bit, you know, oh, it's in my emails. I don't have access to my emails. I can't remember. Oh, I'm just here for an interview. Like they kind of came expecting the company to have those details. And don't get me wrong, they absolutely should. They should. But particularly if it's a large office, that receptionist is like, well, who do I tell that you're here? They're not necessarily across every interview that's going on every day. And, you know, they need to be able to tell, like, who am I going to get to come and interview you? So I've had that situation before, because what does that receptionist do? They come straight to see HR or recruitment or whoever it is to be like, hey, someone's here for an interview. I'm not sure who they're meant to see. Can you look it up and see who they're interviewing with? And I think that can just create a lot of awkward, uncomfortable kind of back and forth and different scenarios. So I think making sure that you've got those details handy
If you go on a location interview, maybe you meet at a restaurant or a cafe or somewhere and you're rude to the waiter or to the staff, that's a big red flag. That's part of the interview, the way that you interact with other people.
Totally. Even someone on the street, just any interactions that you're having. Again, this person's trying to get to know you. So they're seeing you in all of the contexts that they see you in and trying to form an opinion on what do you like to work with.
If you make bad jokes on the way out, on the way to the door or to other people, poor taste. You don't want to be remembered by a joke.
Or just telling stories or just some of the examples that I've seen and heard about are that kind of the switch is off when the interview ends. I saw someone talk about someone rolling their eyes at the end, or they were like, oh, finally. And this idea that the interview's over. And then they get up and they're all relaxed, which is normal to a certain extent because, maybe you were really nervous about the questions coming and then you've relaxed. Well, then what's that interviewer then going to encounter you like when you're in that in-between moment of getting up out of the meeting room, chit-chatting on your way back to the front office? Those little moments, if you've completely let your guard down there and talked about what you're getting up to on the weekend or what you like to do around town or just things that you shouldn't be discussing, I think that comes from a misunderstanding of the interview's over. I don't have to worry anymore. I did the part that they were assessing me in.
You're not safe until you're driving down the highway with locked doors in your car. Because if you get out to the car park and I'm picturing you're in a multi-story car park, you're leaning up against a pole, maybe you're calling your partner to be like, oh, it's terrible. One of the interviewers was an asshole and just didn't get good vibes. They asked so many crazy questions. And then you never know who's parked 2 cars down from you. Could be the big CEO, another staff member. You bet they'll go and relay that.
Or imagine them saying, oh, yeah, I don't even really know if I want to work here anyway. It could be something really normal. If someone overhears that, let's say you're in the coffee shop next door to where the office was and someone happens to be in line behind you or something, and then they're like, hold on. And they're just a little bit curious and they go upstairs and they're just chatting to their colleagues and they're like, did someone come in here who was wearing an orange blazer? Oh, yeah. I don't know why orange blazer came into my head, by the way. That's such a random colour to pick for a blazer. Did someone come in here wearing a blue blazer and a beige skirt for an interview? Oh, okay, interesting. Because I just overheard her say that she doesn't really like this job and doesn't want to work here. It's gossip. People love gossip. They're going to absolutely share that if they overhear something.
This applies in general in life. One time at a workplace I was at, our company had hired someone to perform a duty, I won't say what, and they came and did the duty. And then that person has obviously gone to their mum and provided commentary on the people that they were working with. Now, the people are kind of public facing, known in the community. So she went and, shared her opinions of them. And then the mum has gone to a hairdresser appointment and been chatting to the hairdresser about, oh yeah, well, my daughter did this job and at this insert company, so that was exciting. But I'll tell you what, she said that this person wasn't blah, 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 insert gossip. And one of our employees was sitting in the chair next to her at the hairdresser, just quietly listening and thinking your daughter would be horrified if she knew you were relaying the information that she told you, the opinions, and you're just talking about it at the hairdresser. You never know who's around and who's listening. And that employee of ours passed it on to management and said, hey, don't hire that girl again because she's been saying this about our company or our staff. So she's just lost income and business because her mum was blabbing at the hairdressers.
And it's really easy to blame the mum and be like, she shouldn't have been talking about that. But like I said before, it's gossip. People want to talk about it. You should be conscious of are you going to share stuff like that, knowing that you might want to work at that company again?
Yeah, that's right. Be careful. Loose lips sink ships.
That's right. And I think this was a little bit of a fun one. I hope that someone was listening to this and they were like, oh my God, what are these things I have to watch out for? And that actually after this, they feel really relaxed because they would never do any of these things. That's how I want you to feel.
Yes. Good luck.
Thanks for listening to Interview Boss. If you want to request an episode on your specific conundrum or industry, send us the details. Email us or slide into our Instagram DMs. But if you DM us on Instagram and you're not following, Emma won't be happy and she will judge.
I really will.
We believe in paying it forward, so if we've helped you, spread the word. You know the drill. Follow, review, find us on Instagram and LinkedIn. It all helps. Or go the old school way and tell someone else about the show. Can you believe we started Interview Boss in 2021?
Not really. It's insane. That's a lot of episodes and a lot of hours of talking.
Oh my gosh, it is. And if you're scrolling through all of our episodes, you might scroll straight past something that you really, really needed.
Yes, we're always getting messages from people asking us to do an episode on something, and I'm like, we already have.
So we've put together playlists to help you find the episodes that are exactly what you need, suited to your situation.
They're all categorized. If you're applying for jobs, we have episodes about resumes, cover letters, job ads. If you've been offered your dream job, we have episodes on resigning, exit interviews, and how to impress at your new company.
And we even have a very special playlist that's very popular for if you have an interview coming up immediately and you need just our most recommended hard-hitting episodes between now and then.
For all our last-minute listeners. It's all there for you. You can browse by category and check out all the playlists at interviewboss.com.au/podcast.